Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I want to say a special hello to Eric Walker. Hi, Eric. Happy to see you. Okay. See if I can get this so I can read my notes. All right. So today I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about study and written teachings and how we encounter them, how we read, recite, chant, and integrate them into our lives. I've talked some about this before, but I want to revisit it today for a very specific reason. Because I want to also talk about how they can form the foundation of our response in challenging times. Okay? Okay. I think everyone feels that there's a lot going on. I don't care what your politics are. I don't care what you think or don't think about anything. I mean, of course I care. But the point is, I think everyone feels that there's a lot going on. It's easy to feel lost, to wonder what has Buddhist teachings, what have Buddhist practices to do with this? How can it help me? How can they help me negotiate what I can do and how I can do it? So it's always good to ground ourselves in Zazen practice, to commit to a time and a place to sit and return to our true nature. Especially if we can do it with others, either in person here at the Zendo, that's ideal, or join us on Zoom. Zazen is a time when we drop all our busyness, all our attachment to our thinking. I won't say that we drop our thinking because that may be too much. But we drop our attachment to our thinking. And we remember, we return to the depth and the vastness of our true nature, of our lives. And then we get up from Zazen. All of our lives, every aspect of our life is a field of practice. So what do we do when we get up? How are we? This is when the teachings can play a particularly important role in our lives with others, especially in times of stress, confusion, anger, despair, and the felt need to do something. I've said this before, we are meaning-making creatures. We produce meaning and narratives constantly. We weave stories out of all the aspects of our lives. Given any assortment of items or experiences, will create order, sequence, coherence. And we also fill in the gaps to make order. We fill in missing letters. Have you ever noticed that? You read something and you fill in a letter. Sometimes based on what you're thinking, you put the wrong word in there and then you get to the end of the sentence and you go, that didn't make any sense. We take shortcuts in our assessments of ourselves and others. We are deeply impacted by what we have known, what we have experienced, our culture, our geography, our physicality. This is a gift and it's a problem. Something we often don't notice. When things get tough and demanding, we look for clarity and a path forward that makes sense and that we feel will count for something. Having a foundation, having touchstones, guideposts, reminders can help us. Buddhist teachings provide us with an opportunity to build such a foundation, to weave together a lifeline, a guide, something we can return to. Our sacred texts have depth and great wisdom in them. We interact with them. We find them trustworthy. These are texts we can listen to with our whole body, with our hearts and minds and every faculty. We question, we think, we respond, we are touched. We open ourselves to them, allow them to impact us and build a relationship with them. We do this so that they're available to us at all times. We are co-constituted with our environment. So when we build a trusting relationship with a sacred text, we are changed. It becomes a part of who we are. And without thinking, we can recall it in times of need. We weave the teachings into our lives, our being, and our world with others. This is an evolving, changing, mutating process. So there's no end to the encounters with person, text, world. Each person, each text, each circumstance will be woven together into a unique fabric. Never the same, always changing. So we bring awareness to this process. We notice how our lives and responses to the world change. So I've studied these teachings for a long time, and I've noticed how they continually renew themselves in my understanding, in my experience, and in my life with others, and in how I call on them. So Dogen says, this is one of my favorite quotes, so you might have heard it before. The volumes of the sutras are the bones of the Tathagata, the Buddha. The volumes of the sutra are the bones of the Tathagata. Because this is so, bones are the sutra. Even if we know that the volumes of the sutra are bones, if we do not know that bones are the volumes of the sutras, that is not yet the Buddhist truth. The human world, the heaven above, the ocean, space, this land, and other realms are all real forms, are volumes of the sutra, and are bones. Receiving, retaining, reading, reciting, interpreting, and copying bones, we should disclose realization. You got it? Our bones, our lives are the sutras. The ocean is the sutra. The person in front of you is the sutra. Our everyday life is the sutra. And the texts are the sutra. And they are our bones. So we study Buddha when we study the sutras. We study our lives and the world. We study the sutras. We study the Buddha and the sutras when we study our lives. All folded into each other and bringing each other to life. So, as Dogen points out over and over, this is not a matter of intellectual understanding merely. Intellectual understanding is nice, but it's just the beginning. Or maybe you discover it later on. This is a matter of allowing the teachings into our lives to rearrange our molecules and impact how we are in the world. As we engage in them, we become comfortable having ordinary conversations with bones, ordinary conversations with the teachings in the day-to-day reality of our lives. This is not a fancy or special process, okay? You don't need to get out the good china. You know, any old broken mug will do. Any old self will do. Any old circumstance will do. This is a way of living, not a way of coming to some final. Don't we like to like finally like say, God, okay, I got it. We love that feeling. It's very satisfying, like, and that's great if you're changing a pipe under your sink. But the sutras are endless, just like life is endless. All of the circumstances are endless. So it's a way of living. So we intentionally take up the practice of engaging with the teachings and find ways to bring the teachings into our day-to-day lives, weave them and be woven by them, enact them. So it's like an ancient thread that binds us to a path of wisdom and compassion, clarity, vigor, effective responsiveness, grounded and simple in the complexity of this world. We have a lifeline then, a support, a guide. We read, recite, reflect, listen, consider, explore, question, discuss, anything else you can think of. Do you want to dance the sutras? You want to sing them? You want to paint them? Doesn't matter. Just bring them alive for you in your life. The Buddhist teaching Shan Tao described a particularly vivid experience of the life of the path. And I like this. This is about the Pang family, P-A-N-G. Layman Pang was sitting in his thatched hut one day, studying the sutras. So get this in your minds. He's sitting there. Difficult, difficult, difficult. He suddenly exclaimed. Like trying to store 10 bushels of sesame on the top of a tree. I mean, think of it. Could you do that? I mean, I guess if you have bushels, you like in sacks or something, you could, but I don't think that's what he's meaning. So his wife was nearby, lay woman, Pang. She says, easy, easy, easy. It's like touching your feet to the floor when you get out of bed. Easy, easy, easy. Can you imagine? Like layman Pang and laywoman Pang are like having this discussion. I love it. It is like touching your feet to the floor when you get out of bed. and their daughter is nearby. And she said, neither difficult nor easy. This is Ling Zhao. It's like the teachings of the ancestors shining on 100 grass tips. Okay, so there's a lot we could say about this story. And there's other wonderful stories about family paying. But I'll say a few things. The first I want to note is that each person in this story has something important to add. All of them are true. None better than the other. Often the daughter gets elevated. Ling Zhao gets elevated, but I think it's important that we honor all of these different ways. They call us to study and reach for understanding. Difficult, difficult, difficult. Be willing to come face to face with difficult. And they ask us to embody the teachings and make them real to ourselves, like getting out of bed in the morning. A direct experience as potent as touching our feet to the floor in the morning. And I think we could probably figure out that at least part of the year, laywoman Pang's feet were cold when she touched the floor. Like when we lived at Tassajara. It was cold. The teachings are also everywhere and in every experience, shining on the 100 grass tips. So this phrase, shining on 100 grass tips, is a term often used in Zen to describe all the phenomena in this world. So it basically means everything, every aspect of this world is alive with the teachings. Ling Zhao, the daughter, wove baskets for a living. She wove a life in the Dharma. So when we return to the teachings on a regular basis, we can weave a strong connection to all of them, or any one of them. One that will come forward when we need it, like now. So I was thinking about this. I was thinking about how the teachings impact us, and my own responses to the world we are in now and all its challenges. And I recalled Dogen's fascicle, Shishoku. The title of the fascicle has been translated in English in a few ways, in many ways. This is kind of a favorite. Three of them are the four methods of guidance of the Bodhisattva. That's Kaz Tanahashi. The four elements of a Bodhisattva's social relations. That's Nishijima and Cross. And the Bodhisattva's four embracing actions. That's Shohaku Okumura. So the three are the four methods of guidance of the Bodhisattva, the four elements of a Bodhisattva's social relations, and the Bodhisattva's four embracing actions. I say all of them because I think each of them has something to tell us. These four are giving, kind speech, beneficial action, and identity action. Each of them is relevant. They apply to all people at all times, and they are not in any way in opposition to vigor, courage, clarity, vitality. What they teach us is how to embody these virtues of vigor, courage, vitality, clarity, effective response. As we face this world and find our way to respond, we can stay close to these and make them our own, our path, our way to be, to stay grounded and calm and strong and wise. So the first method, element, action is giving. Dogen Zenji says, giving means non-greed. Non-greed means not to covet. The mind of giving quietly reaches others. He also says, and I think this is important, to give to yourself is a kind of offering. And even when you give a particle of dust, you should rejoice in your own act of giving. So we are asked to cultivate a generous mind, one that is flexible, open, willing to listen and give to others. It's an opportunity to be together generously. That's what we're asked to do. This can be very difficult as we join with Layman Pang. This can be very difficult, but it's a basis of true relationship. This generosity is intelligent. It's mindful of the needs of all. It's not thoughtless or without boundaries. True giving includes all these aspects as well. When we follow this, we learn and grow and give with wisdom. So I ask you, when you leave here today, to consider what this means for you now. The next is kind speech. Dogen says, kind speech means that when you see sentient beings, you arouse the mind of compassion and offer words of loving care. It is contrary, he says, to cruel or violent speech. And he goes on, you should know that kind speech arises from kind mind, and kind mind from the seed of compassionate mind. You should ponder the fact that kind speech is not just praising the merit of others. It has the power to turn the destiny of a nation. Okay, shall I repeat that again? Kind speech has the power to turn the destiny of a nation. So, again, we think, what does that mean for us now? First, kind speech is not wimpy speech. Okay, it's not timid. It's not speech unmoored from our values or our intention. Kind speech is a guide to effective action. Even when we are boiling with agitation, with ferocity, with deep angst, and a compelling need to change what is happening. Or perhaps we agree with some of what's happening, but not others. Or we're totally confused. Or we're faced with disagreement with loved ones, or think of all the different dimensions of this. In all cases, kind speech is our guide. Everywhere, every time, kind speech is key. Honesty, yes. Clarity and directness and action, yes. But kind speech keeps us with other humans in this mess of a world and allows us to find a way forward. The third of the four methods or actions or social relations is beneficial action. Dogen Zenji says, beneficial action is skillfully to benefit all classes of sentient beings, to care about their near and distant future, and to help them by using skillful means. Beneficial action is an act of oneness, benefiting self and others together. This way of being melts the divisive and hurtful ways of action that can arise when we do not see sameness. When we divide our world, into those we consider worthy of respect and beneficial action, and those that don't. This divisiveness harms all of us. Delusion and harm beget delusion and harm. This can be difficult. But if we see the truth of it, we find our way. Respect, granting dignity to all is essential. We do not have to feel compassion to act compassionately. This is important. This is key. Compassion is the basis of our way of life. It is the root of building a world of justice and goodness. Whether we feel compassionate or not, it's good if we do, but we don't have to wait to act compassionately until we feel compassion. And so we seek beneficial action even when we don't feel it. We do it when it's hard because we are looking for a way to benefit all of our near and far futures. Everyone. The fourth and last of these methods, actions, principles, is related to all the former ones. This is identity action. Dogen says, identity action means not to be different, neither self or others. So of course we're different, but essentially, how are we in this together? That's my speech, not Dogen's. He goes on, when we realize identity action, self and others are one suchness. And he says, action means form, dignity, attitude. So, this is an attitude that does not divide, sees the fundamental sameness of our longings, our needs, our lives, and gives dignity to all, even as the relationships that we have with others may vary wildly. Dogen goes on, Wanza said, the ocean does not refuse water. Therefore, it is able to achieve vastness. The ocean does not refuse water is identity action. We should know that the virtue of water does not refuse the ocean. This is why water is able to form an ocean. We should know this in ourselves. Okay? This vastness. We should know this in ourselves. In other words, we don't turn away. We don't refuse others. We may make intelligent choices, but we fundamentally do not refuse others. Dogen says, this is why identity action is the practice and the vow of the Bodhisattva. This path of practice, these four methods, dimensions, actions, is not a matter of being nice or abandoning our principles and the need to enact them. And it's not done simply to benefit others. It's a path of liberation for us, each of us, to find peace and meaning and energy and engagement and strength and clear intention. So, as we face these challenging times together, if we participate, for example, in a rally in Watsonville this afternoon, or San Jose, or go back home and wish the best for everyone, or the fact that we've been sitting here together, No matter politics or choices, this is true. When we help out at the food bank, say hello to a neighbor, write your governmental representative or anybody else that you think has enough sanity to be helpful. Remember these principles. Discover for yourself that they mean what they mean for you. Explore the teachings, all of the teachings, not just these, any of the teachings, to find words of wisdom and guidance that help you negotiate the world, that you can call on. Find words, images, teachings to explore, incorporate, recall when things are tough, rely on them, allow them to support you and guide you. Remember the family pang, and remember giving, kind speech, beneficial action, and identity action.